What's up, people? Another episode of Just for Sport. Jamoke Davis here with you. And in this episode, we're going to talk about Rory's mastery at the Masters, getting the Grand Slam, WNBA Draft. We'll talk about WNBA Draft and the Mystics. What could they have done differently with this draft? I know one thing. We'll talk about the NBA. As I'm recording this, the play-in tournament is about to begin. We will get into that and my gut check picks for the first round going all the way through to the finals. We'll talk about that. Two big games this weekend where I am going to see some of the greatest athletes of all time. And I'm sure you will agree when I tell you about it. So we will talk about that as well. And a little baseball. I'm disappointed in myself. Very disappointed in myself. But I'm going to start with what I would say is the best golf tournament, not just the Masters, that I've ever seen. Am I someone who really watches golf on a regular basis? No. I know the big guys. You've heard me on my podcast talk a lot about how I was okay with the LIV Tour and thought that the PGA were a bit hypocritical in their criticism of the LIV Tour, which of course has died down. Live and let die, right? But I was captivated by, one, I had it right. I said Rory would win the Masters. That was my pick, and I'm sure many of you had that, right? A lot of the people who I listen to and watch also had Rory, and I know I kind of did my homework, but the bottom line is, even for me to come out and say, well, Rory's going to win it, just like anybody else would, this was his 11th time trying. After this was the last one he needed to get the Grand Slam, which was the Masters tournament. And I couldn't take my eyes away from the television, at least for the last four holes and then the playoff. And as I looked back on the turn, I was very happy for him. I just was overjoyed in seeing his emotion, the way when he got that putt to go in the first round of the playoffs, if you will. And he just dropped to his knees and he's crying and the emotion comes out. How can you not be happy for Rory McIlroy? Who doesn't like him on the tour? What he's been through recently, getting the monkey off his back, I can only imagine how hard that is going into the Masters again and again and again and not winning it. And then when you go back to Thursday, didn't have a good Thursday, Friday and Saturday, 266 rounds, and he's sitting at the top. Going into Sunday, I was so nervous. In those first few holes, he didn't play well. The 13th went in the water. I was like, uh-oh. I remember I did have to go out and do a couple things with the kids, watch them play, one of them play soccer. And I came back and I was like, oh no, they're four tied at -10. I immediately started rooting against everybody else but Rory, but I also was wondering, uh-oh, is Rory going to collapse? I'm sure you wondered the same thing. On 13, the ball goes in the water. You're like, oh, maybe he's done. Is he done? Is this it? I don't know. Then he's up one on the 18th hole, one putt to win it, and he can't make it. And I just felt so sad and just like, oh no, I was nervous. My heart's racing. I just could not believe that he didn't make that putt. But I can't imagine what it would be like to be in that situation, right? I mean, come on, who am I? I've never played golf at all. I've been talking for a while about how I need to get back out and get some fling golf going on one of these courses that'll let me do it. But it was tough to watch. I was on pins and needles. And when you think that there are only 5 other players, and the most recent one, the only one I can relate to, or in terms of being able to see play, is Tiger Woods. and see him get the Grand Slam. And he did it, if I recall, on his first try, getting the career Grand Slam. This may be the hardest thing to do in sports, is to get a Grand Slam. There are more players that have the Grand Slam in tennis on the men's and women's side. And when you hear me talk about a Grand Slam, that means you've won the 4 majors in tennis. You've got Australian Open, Wimbledon, French Open, and U.S. Open. Andre Agassi, I remember the excitement when he got the career Grand Slam in tennis, but he's the only one I saw do that. So for me to see Tiger do it and then to see Rory do it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. To see him walk through the galley, everybody's high-fiving, chanting, Rory, Rory. The people inside the ropes that were able to give him hugs and fist bumps and high fives, his wife and daughter. Like, that was a really cool moment. And, you know, I wish I could have a moment like that, unless I compete in like I'll never do it. So there's no need for me to even joke about it. I can't do it. There's no chance I'm going to be a champion at anything to that level on the big stage. The closest I can say to it is probably winning my first Emmy and knowing that I got over that hurdle. That is probably the closest thing I can remember to it. Maybe winning Employee of the Year. That was a pretty big deal. But not really sports related. But that was pretty cool. That was really fun to watch. And I was rooting against Rose. I was actually curious watching it. Is anybody rooting for Rose here outside of his family and his camp? You know, like his agent and baby best friends and relatives, whatever. Nobody wanted Rose to win that. That would have been a real downer if Rose had won. But I mean, there's a part of me that feels for him. Like, okay, you know it's important to win. But that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Now, the next cool thing that was coming up was the WNBA Draft. And for me, I remember being there in person when Elena Delle Donne was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And in the draft lottery, we had a draft party. I'm there with Sheila Johnson and Ketsia. And the Mystics got the 4th pick. And I was just like, oh no, this was that generational player. Now, the funny thing is, for you Mystics fans out there, it came full circle. It worked out. The Mystics ended up being able to trade for Elena Delle Donne later and win their first WNBA championship. So it worked out. Now, I don't know if it will be the same this time around, but when the Mystics have the 3rd, the 4th, and the 6th pick going into the WNBA draft, I thought for sure, all right, the Dallas Wings, shout out to Greg Bibb, who used to work with us at the Mystics. Well, I'm not with the Mystics either, but we worked together at the Mystics. He was our boss and general manager of the Mystics at the time. So I'm happy for him. But I thought for sure that there was a chance that the Mystics were going to pull off this amazing trade and they were going to give up the 3rd, 4th, and 6th pick for the number 1 pick, and they were going to get Paige Bueckers, who's really good friends with AZ Fudd from the DC area. And if I remember correctly, Paige Bueckers played a little bit in the DMV too, so she has a connection there. I thought for sure that was going to happen. And when it didn't, man, I was kind of bummed. I was, because, you know, to hear everyone talk about, oh, well, this is the opportunity for the Mystics to kind of rebuild their team. Ariel Atkins is no longer there, and she was a staple there for a long time. You still got Elena Delle Donne, but they needed some younger players that they could build back up the team for the future. So I get it. I get why you want to have 3 picks. And only in the W can you have 3 picks in the top 6. At least that I can remember. I don't think in any other league that's happened. But it was pretty cool. And the thing that I enjoyed the most about what happened is that, am I going to act like, no, I'm not going to act like I follow the WNBA the same way I follow the NBA or the same way I follow baseball or football. I don't. But I was excited because I felt like this was something that I'm starting to become more and more invested in. That the level of play is reaching new heights. The excitement for the draft seemed to be elevated. And I hope that going into the second year of a rejuvenated league because of Caitlin Clark in many ways, that now you can get more excited for Paige Bueckers and the other younger players that are coming in the league. And I know I shouldn't have said Paige Bueckers as the only one, but that you're following the other players as well. And not just being interested in the W or college basketball because of Caitlin Clark. So the Mystics, they draft Sonia. She's a 3-and-D player. They draft Kiki fan from USC, played with Juju Watkins. She can fill it up, great size, can finish around the rim. And then they get Georgia Amore, who is from an Aussie. She's small, but scrappy, competitive. And the funny thing that I learned yesterday is Russell Westbrook designed her outfit. Like, whoa, I didn't know he was getting into fashion like that. He's always been, I wouldn't necessarily say the best dressed, but he's always been out there as far as his outfits go. And to see him now getting more into fashion, he really seemed excited and engaged watching Georgia go up there and, get selected and, start her career. And everybody's talking about the outfit she's wearing. And that was pretty cool. I hope that this is something that is a chance for the Mystics to grow again, get some fresh players in there, a different perspective, be able to run the floor faster. It's just, it's a new generation. And I am excited for what's to come for the Mystics, and I hope that it leads to a better record than last year. Last year, the Mystics were 14-26, which is not good. And you never know if they're going to turn it around that fast. That may not be a thing. But I hope it is. And I hope that they are able to really be able to become the team that we all want them to be when you've got 3 players in the top league like this. I am just amazed that they were able to get the type of players they did. It's a new era as far as the front office too. So it'll be interesting to see how this team does. And shout out to Ketsi. I know she did a lot of work last night. And congratulations to her and the Mystics. Really excited. One thing I was curious about is that there was one player drafted that I'm just not quite sure about. And that's Haley Van Lith. She is going to be reunited with her teammate from the LSU days, who has become, how should I say, very much like a villain. And I don't like it. Angel Reese is not a villain. I will say it again. I will remind everyone, the player that did this first in anybody else's face was Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was doing it to her opponents. And then when Angel Reese beat Caitlin Clark, she gave it back to her. Just remember that. But Angel Reese and Van Lith, they're back together again. That'll be interesting what happens there. But then I had to wonder, will Van Lith stay with this team? She literally has been on 3 straight teams the last 3 seasons. And they went to the Sweet 16, so she's really good. It'll be interesting to see what she does with the Chicago Sky. It will be interesting. And I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her. I did like to see her play. What I also like to see play is I'm excited about the WNBA playoffs. And actually, the funny thing is, my excitement for even the play-in tournament started from back in the day, way back in the day, when MLB did a 1-game playoff. And I'm trying to remember, it must not have been because they were always doing a 1-game playoff. This was Wrigley Field, Giants against the Cubs. This actually might have been, Sammy Sosa might still have been there. And I just remember it was 1 game, winner takes all, or not takes all, but goes to the playoffs. And so I like this play-in tournament. I am really excited about the games. And we've got Atlanta and Orlando as a 7 seed hosting the Hawks. And we've got the Warriors hosting the Grizzlies. And we know what happened last time the Warriors and Grizzlies played. So I imagine we're going to get some really competitive games. And they're going to be fun to watch. And I will be glued to the television. And I will be up late. I'm going to be up late. Now, my gut check predictions are Orlando will win and the Warriors will win and they will move on. They're going to be the teams that are in the tournament, or 2 of the 4, because the other 4 that'll play on Wednesday are Miami at Chicago. I'm saying Miami will win that one. And Dallas at Sacramento. That's a tough one. I'm going with Dallas and Anthony Davis because I want them to make it too. Man, if you can you're not going to get it because Oklahoma City is not going to lose to Dallas. But if Dallas and the Lakers play in the playoffs, I mean, you want to see that, right? That is, or would be, must-see TV. Must-see TV. Now, my gut check picks for the actual playoffs and who do I think will win the NBA title. And I'm only doing this now because the playoffs will begin before I probably record my next pod. And I feel like it's only fair that I must pick my bracket. I have to pick the bracket. And I think that the Mavs will beat the Kings. I think the Mavs will beat the Kings. But then, will the Mavs beat the Warriors? That's got to happen too. Yeah. All right. Doing it again. Warriors and Grizzlies both make the playoffs. That's my gut check pick. Because I think Mavs will beat the Kings. Warriors will beat the Grizzlies. Then Grizzlies will beat the Mavs. They will play the Thunder. And I think they can upset the Thunder. I think they can. I know I'm probably going out on a limb there. But the Mavs? wouldn't really have a chance against the Thunder. So part of me is picking the fact that I think the Grizzlies have a better shot at possibly upsetting the Thunder. Ja Morant versus SGA. J3, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think that the Grizzlies have a pretty good team. I do. And I think that they can give the Thunder a run. That being said, if I got to do gut check picks, I'm going Thunder. I'm going Thunder to win that series. Nuggets, Clippers. I'm going Clippers because of the stability. What they did to beat the Warriors in Golden State in the last game of the season, when you know that seeding was on the line, they showed me that they've got some mettle. And I think the Nuggets, firing Mike Malone at the end of the season, the Nuggets are not going in the right direction. I'm going with the Clippers. Lakers, Timberwolves, I'm taking the Lakers. I mean, come on. It's not because of LeBron, even though LeBron's playing great. It's because they put off the miraculous trade, which Nico Harrison said he has no regrets. Yeah, you do. The Lakers are going to move on and beat the Timberwolves. And then Rockets, Warriors. Man, the Rockets are a really good young team. And I tell you what I saw in not so much the Warriors, but what I saw in Draymond Green is a very old Draymond Green. That layup he missed that could have tied the game in overtime. Come on, man. How do you miss that? I mean, for one, I never thought he's an all-star. He's not an all-star. He's been riding on the coattails of Clay, and he's been riding on the coattails of Steph. He is an all-star, excuse me. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer. Let's stop that talk. But I think that Jimmy Butler getting hurt in that Clippers game, I don't know if maybe like the honeymoon phase is over, but I could see the Rockets beating the Warriors here, and that's not a good thing because I think then you start to question, did we need Jimmy Butler? Is he too old? Did we make a mistake making that trade? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't know if you could bet against Steph in the end. I don't. I'm going to take the Warriors there. And then you get what the NBA really wants is, right? You would get Warriors, Lakers because they don't reseed. I think the Warriors beat the Lakers in the series. Clippers, Thunder. I think that the Clippers beat the Thunder. And I think you get Warriors, Clippers in the Western Conference Finals and the Clippers in the NBA Finals. Now, if that isn't a gut check pick and a wild prediction, I know you're like, how could you pick that? You know why? Because the Clippers are good. And they have a player who has championship pedigree, even though he's been flying under the radar all season. And his name is Kawhi Leonard. Watch out for the Clippers. That's my gut check upset pick. Clippers in the NBA Finals in the Western Conference. On the Eastern side, I've got the Heat beating the Bulls, in the Heat moving on to play the Hawks because I think the Magic will be the 7th seed when they win that game. So I think the Magic will play the Celtics. I think the Heat beat the Hawks and the Heat play the Cavaliers. And that worries me if I'm a Cavs fan. That really does. Because I think the Cavs have all of the pressure on them. More than Oklahoma City to me. Because I think you have a team that everybody's like, yeah, the Cavs are in first, but really the Celtics are the best. And then you have Donovan Mitchell, who just like last year got injured towards the end of the season this year. Again, he was injured last year, wasn't 100%, twisted his ankle, not 100% here. I hope he's fine. I'm rooting for the Cavs. My sons, as much as I'm not even admitting it, they're not big Cavs fans. They still like the Wizards. But yes, my son has a Cleveland Cavaliers hat and a Donovan Mitchell jersey t-shirt and a jersey and a basketball. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? What happened? He's kind of a Cavs fan now. So I want the Cavs to advance. But luckily the Cavs are not going to get the Magic. But I think the Heat, they have championship pedigree. They've got Eric Spoelstra as their coach. They could give them a run, but I'm going to say the Cavs still win it. Maybe in 6, maybe even 7. Pacers, Bucks. We're already getting reports that Dame Lillard is not going to be available. I think the Pacers will win that series. I do. Knicks, Pistons. The Knicks don't play well against the top seeds. Pistons are on a top seed. I think that Brunson and Cat, I think they move on, and the Knicks beat the Pistons. And then we've got Celtics, Magic. I think that's going to be an easy one. Not a sweep. Celtics win 4-1. Next series, Knicks, Celtics. Again, Knicks cannot play well against top seeds. I'm taking the Celtics. Pacers, Cavs. I think it goes 7. But I'm sticking with the Cavs. And that's a gut and heart check pick. I just want to see the Cavs move on. And the funny thing is, part of it is like that mid-market. I'd like to see a mid-market team get there. But realistically, so is Indiana. In Indiana, they were good last year. I thought they were going to beat the Celtics last year. They couldn't get it done. But I'm taking the Cavs to beat the Pacers in a rematch between the Cavs and the Celtics. And I'm going to stick with the Cavs winning in 7. That this is their year. They're going to turn it back up. Donovan Mitchell's going to be okay. And he's going to get it done. And we're going to have a Clippers-Cavs NBA Finals. Ratings may not be great, but I think those are my 2 picks. And my gut check pick to win it all, boy, I'm going to take the Cavs to win that post-LeBron NBA championship. The Cavs were the second best at some point, sometimes during the season, the best team in the NBA, and I'm picking the Cleveland Cavaliers to win the NBA championship over the LA Clippers in 7. And boy, that's a tough one because Kawhi in the NBA Finals, woo! And with James Harden, that's a tough one. But we'll see. Gut check pick. That's what I'm going with, my gut check pick. All right. Last but not least, 2 things to talk about here. I'm going to see greatness on Thursday and Saturday. Thursday, I'm going to Caps Pens. Now, I imagine Sidney Crosby's going to play. There's no reason to sit out. They're not in the playoffs. It's the last game of the year at PPG Paints Arena. I will be there with the family to watch the game. But the beauty of that game is that it is also the last game of the season for the Washington Capitals coming to Pittsburgh. And maybe I'll get to see some former colleagues and friends. I'm going to let them know I'm going to be at the game. But you get to see, or I get to see, 2 players that are no doubt Hall of Famers. Ovi now is the greatest scorer of all time in the NHL. And you get to see Sidney Crosby, who, maybe you don't like this, I like this record that he passed Gretzky on. Most goals per game average over 20 seasons, right? I think it's just over 1 point a game, right? He's averaging 1 point a game for 20 straight seasons. And that's the record that he beat over Gretzky, who had 19 straight seasons. And I know it's not as exciting as seeing Ovi score all of those goals and get the record at the Islanders, which broke my heart. I wish he could have done it at home. Well, not really broke my heart, but just a bummer. But there's just something that's going to be really exciting to see 2 players that have elevated their game to new heights, and both passing the great one and Wayne Gretzky in their respective, the consistency of Crosby, the consistency of the goal scorer in Alex Ovechkin. I was trying to decide if I should wear my jersey or not, but I didn't really want the heat, mostly because I got the little kids with me. I don't need some guy yelling at me, talking trash or whatever. I just want to enjoy hockey, and that's what I hope to be able to do on Thursday night. Then, on Saturday, I get to see the Columbus Crew host Inter Miami in Cleveland. And we all know why you go to that game. Now, in fairness, I have been to a Columbus Crew game before. So I'm not someone who's just like, oh, you're just going because of Messi. This time, yes, it is Messi. But I've been to a Columbus Crew game before. I've been to several Pittsburgh Riverhounds games before. And I've been to multiple DC United games before. So it's not like, oh, you're not even a soccer fan. I've been to an English Premier League game before as well. But this is different. This is different. For my sons to be able to see Messi, right? Yes, there's excitement. Diego Rossi from the Columbus Crew. Columbus Crew are in first place. Inter Miami's trying to get to first. I am excited to go to this game just as much. And obviously, there was a big deal, just like when Caitlin Clark was playing at the Mystics and they put the game in Capital One Arena, and they've done this throughout the MLS. Columbus Crew, credit to their fans, even though they might be bummed, they moved this game to Cleveland because they need it in a bigger stadium. They're playing in the Brown Stadium because they know that many people want to come to this game. And I'm going to be one of them. And there's going to be like 70 of us enjoying the Columbus Crew versus Inter Miami and possibly getting the opportunity to see Messi play. And the reason why I say possibly is because I will be disappointed if Messi doesn't play. Not because of boo-hoo, oh, the fans, oh, why isn't Messi playing? No, because the games matter. The games should matter to the players and should matter to MLS, should matter to the fact that you want to be the best and you want to beat the best. And right now, the Columbus Crew are the best. So if you're Inter Miami, you should be putting the best team on the field. And for MLS, the commissioner should be calling Inter Miami saying, yeah, we need to have the best players on the field. Why? And all of them, by the way. But the first and foremost, we need Messi. Yes, Suarez. Yes, Sergio Busquets. Right? We know that Jordi Alba. We get it. There are more players. But those other players combined, you would not move the game from Columbus to Cleveland to find out that, oh, well, Messi's not going to play. Javier Mascherano, the manager, was like, nah, we're going to rest him. David Beckham, one of the owners, come on, you got to make a phone call. Messi, we need you to play in this game, right? It's important. And it's no different from when I talk about load management and players resting against teams. Yes, soccer, they do that too. This ain't the game for that. This ain't the game for that. And I hope on Saturday it doesn't become one of those games. But I'm excited to witness a soccer game in a big stadium. I haven't done that since I saw a soccer match during the Olympics in Atlanta in such a big stadium. Right? Because I guess, Cleveland Stadium has to be bigger than when I went to see Arsenal-Chelsea. And I did see AS Roma versus Chelsea at what was then Heinz Field, but I don't recall it being sold out. But I guess, Heinz Field does count. It's a pretty big stadium, too, for a soccer match. But let's hope we get to see Messi. But also, something I hope that teams are not doing. I collect tickets. I don't know about you. If you do, you know where I'm coming from. I want the ticket. I need the ticket for my ticket book. I've been collecting them since I was at the Olympics in Seoul, Korea. And I would be very disappointed, as I have been lately, and I was once by the Columbus Crew, when I got to the game and I went to customer service. I said, could you print me out a paper commemorative ticket? No, we don't do that. I went to Nats Dodgers. Can I get a commemorative ticket? No, we don't do that. I went to the Cleveland Cavaliers Game 7 against the Orlando Magic. My first ever Game 7 in the NBA playoffs. Yeah, no, we don't print out tickets for you to just take home. I was so disappointed. Now, granted, they tried to be like, well, we don't do it after the fact. But I'm like, but I already have a digital ticket. I'm not going to stand in a ticket window in line with people trying to buy tickets when all I want is a printout of a ticket. It doesn't even have to have a seat on it. It can just say the 2 teams that played in the date. But for some reason, they couldn't be done. Now, I got to give a shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They not only, you got to pay for it, and I'm okay with that. They will print you a regular game ticket if you want, and you got to pay for that. Or you can pay a little extra and get this kind of giant commemorative ticket. I should have picked it up before I sat down here. And I was so excited. It meant the world to me to be able to have my commemorative ticket that I could write down the game, who went, who won. And this game was the Paul Skeens, Shohei Ohtani game. First time they were facing against each other. Livy Dunn was there. I mean, this was all the pomp and circumstance. Mookie Betts, the Dodgers. This is obviously last year. They weren't the world champion Dodgers, but by the end of the season they were. That was exciting. That was exciting. Why would any team in any sport, not just professional sports, but even in college, why would you lose out on that revenue? Charge $5 for a commemorative ticket. Charge $20 for a commemorative ticket. If you get the type of fan like I am that is interested in that, it's just extra money for you. There is no downside to charging someone for a ticket, giving them the ticket, the joy that they have in remembering their experience at a stadium, and you get to make money. Who wouldn't want to do that? Well, obviously, there's some teams that don't. They got to wake up. I guess I need to email their marketing department, right? Somebody to understand you're missing out on revenue here. You're missing out on revenue. What I hope you don't miss out on is another great sports weekend. Whether you're going to be at the Caps Pins like me, or Inter Miami, Columbus Crew, or an NBA playoff game, or just watching sports on television, I hope you enjoy your weekend. I know that I will. That'll do it for Just for Sport. On the other side, next episode, I'll tell you more about my experiences at the games. And we'll talk a little bit more about, because I didn't do it this time. I talked a long time. I'll get to MLB in a while. It's okay. We can chill. I enjoyed my time with my brothers at the Nats Dodgers game. Got to see Shohei Ohtani again. That was a lot of fun. Nats, the customer service, while I wasn't able to get a ticket, the people were very nice. It was cold. I enjoyed the game. Nats won. James Wood. That was exciting too. But I'm not going to get into much more of the Major League Baseball and the standings and stuff. I'll do that another time. The season's still too early. That'll do it for Just for Sport. I'm Jamoke Davis. Ciao for now.